Welcome, dear readers, to Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Kaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember, we only judge a book by its cover.
And we find ourselves once more amid the towering stacks of your library and the sort of white water, red ink river flowing between them. It's still ongoing. The ink flood the ink tide, I think we call it,
yes,
has not abated. But I've made a little bit of progress in my research as to, if not what is happening, at least maybe something we can do about it.
Oh, do tell.
Okay, now if you come over here now, careful. We are in a gondola, so
it's a little bit wobbly. We got the outlier, which has made it much more stable now. But
yes, outrigger is what it's called, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay, so it's not a gondola anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's a gondola plus.
Okay, yes, the gondola plus. That's where we're in now. If you'll notice, I've put some extra planks between the gondola and the plus compartment, the outrigger.
Actually, that makes it a kind of
catamaran.
Like catamaran.
No, I was just realizing that as I was saying it, but it's a science catamaran.
Oh yes,
yes.
Good.
I needed the extra stability for my chemistry set.
Oh yes. Oh, that's where did you get the glassware?
Look, you always have these questions about how I concoct these things. Now,
okay.
I honestly, I don't know. I think I may have caught another splash of red ink.
I was going to say, that looks like the glassware from the chandelier in the lobby, but...
Oh, is it? Well, I apologize on behalf of my past self who thought that was a good idea, but the results speak for themselves. Take a look at this. So here are some samples of the red ink,
yes.
And I have a number of other inks that I rescued from the book repair studio.
Yes.
And now here's some interesting interactions that I've observed. So this little jar over here, that's where I mix the red ink, which erases memory, and the blue ink, which sort of moves around.
Yes.
And I put some droplets in this jar, and now there's a little frog in there.
Oh, that's odd. It's a purple frog. I mean, the fact that it's purple, I kind of expected, but I didn't expect the frog.
Do you expect that from frogs?
What?
Are there a lot of purple frogs?
No. But
okay.
If you mix red ink and blue ink, I'm not surprised that whatever the outcome is purple.
Oh, it's the color theory that you're focused on. Yeah. No, it seems friendly enough. I haven't dared to take off the stopper, but he's been in that jar for about 5 days with no air, and he hasn't died, and he just keeps looking at me.
Yes, he does look a bit miffed. Or
it's hard to tell.
I mean, I'd be miffed
right?
if I just suddenly appeared in a glass vial with a stopper on it, and some bugger would not let me out for 5 days.
So, what do you think we should do as phase 2 of this experiment, mixing red and blue ink?
Okay, so the blue ink shifts reality, or I should say, it refocuses it. I mean, that's writing things in blue ink kind of makes them real. So, if you have now a memory erasing, reality fixing frog. Unless there have been any mixed side effects.
What you're saying is just leave the stopper on and...
That would be my first...
Maybe put that in the grimoire cage if we ever pass it.
Yes, if we happen to drift by, then we might want to put it there. Might make a new good guardian or something like that, but...
oh, interesting.
It's it'd be useful. It'd be very good at getting intruders and then making them forget what they were doing. So I think that might actually work. It's a little bit small though, but Well, we could just let it loose.
It might grow. You don't know. Things might grow.
We could just let it loose in the red ink and see which way it swims.
Yes, but if it has all of these powers, do you think it's worth the risk? I mean, yeah. Should we just? Hey, yeah. Let's be friends to the animals. Let's just
throw it in there and see which way it swims and follow it. Let's see where it takes us.
Put on my little gloves, my little science gloves, and I'm going to hold my hand out very far and hold it over the edge. Stopper comes off. So far, so good.
It's not moving.
How'd you go?
Oh,
how'd you go, little? Oh no, he's stuck in there.
Oh, give it a good shake.
Yeah. And now he's he's good and stuck in there. He's not even moving. I can just nope.
Right.
He is in there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can I would say dip it in the ink, but then you probably get some ink on yourself. So
I've got gloves. Okay. I'm going to give that a little try.
Okay. They're not paper gloves that are ink transparent.
No, they're vellum gloves.
Okay, just asking.
Do you remember how I made my PTP out of that way back when?
Yes.
Yeah, we were playing all the hits. Okay, I'm going to give it a quick dip in the ink and... Okay, well, it's hard to tell with all the ink. Hold on, I'll shake it out. Yeah. No, it's still in there.
Oh.
It's just bigger.
Yeah. Oh, well, in that case, put the stopper back on and leave it.
Yeah, I think stopper back on and just leave it. So
we'll see how it goes. If it gets too... It'll crawl out of there on its own if it gets too big for the... bottle anyway, otherwise we're going to have a very funnily shaped frog.
Yeah, so I think that throwing this in the ink tide is not a good idea because then we'd replace the ink tide with a giant purple frog.
True.
With possibly powers.
Yes, maybe reality-altering powers, or at least mind-altering powers.
Experiment 2. Now, instead of mixing two different inks, I thought that I would try some of the containment technologies that you have. So,
good.
So I inscribed some of the runes that I saw on the what's it called, the grimoire cage.
Oh, right, yes.
The last time that the gondola sort of glided past there, and I inscribed them on some erasers.
Can I have a look?
No, by all means. Here.
This one says, "Don't dead open inside."
Yeah, I wrote them down exactly the way I saw them. So
okay, I think you might have missed an uptick here.
Well, it still has had its results. See,
I mean, this is not a serif font, and so there's not supposed to be.
It's not serif cuneiform. Okay, no, gotcha. But there is an interesting effect that occurs when see I've got a little dollop of red ink on that slide over there, and when I set these erasers up like sort of standing stones, like a eraser henge or a rubber henge, notice how the droplet sort of elevates, sort of starts to levitate above the glass, and is sort of held there. Like I can take this little configuration and I can just move the droplet.
It's kind of like like one of those acoustically suspended droplets.
Oh yeah.
Although erasers aren't known for their acoustic properties.
No, that is true.
No.
So, do you have any idea how this phenomenon, which seems to safely contain red ink, can be used at scale to maybe deal with the gigantic ocean of red ink that we now sail upon?
Well, you'd need some really big erasers.
Really big erasers.
I mean,
okay, do you have any lying around?
Well, not here in the gondola. I mean, if you got some medium-sized erasers, and I mean like, say, 15 pounds each or something, then you could maybe...
That's medium-sized.
If you wanted like erasers that can hold off a red ink, I mean, I'm thinking like proper Stonehenge-sized erasers. So a 10 to 15 pound eraser would be considered medium-sized. But imagine like taking that configuration and mounting it at the back of the gondola, then you could use it as a propulsion system.
Hey, okay. Well, we'll start with that. That's a great idea. We can have a speed gondola.
Yes, there you go.
That'd be cool.
Go skimming across the red ink. It would be a little bit of spray behind us, so no sudden stops, because then we'd be covered and we wouldn't have no idea what we're doing. I mean, that's supposing that we usually do have an idea what we're doing, which is questionable at the best days, but...
So my last experiment, I decided not to do anything with the red ink itself and see if I could like arm the library, in particular the books, against the red ink. So this one was tricky. I saw some of my successes with the runes inscribed in the eraser. So I tried something similar. I wrapped a book in vellum, and then I used some of the I found some like gold leaf or something.
Oh,
like
very
something very similar. Yeah. So I glued some of that on in these similar patterns, and now I can't touch it anymore. But it also won't touch the floor.
Oh.
And do you see how you can it's sort of like it's on an air cushion. You can sort of push it around.
Kind of created a hover book.
Yeah.
Okay, could be potentially useful.
Could it? I have racked my little brain, and I just can't.
I mean, can you get it to float a little higher than this?
No, this is it. So I guess other runes are needed, but it'll float at this height, like wherever. I mean, you can put some significant weight on it. Put your foot down on it. Take a step.
It's very hard. I mean, I can't put my weight on it. It'll just slip out right from under me. And I'm not
right? So it's a bit of a skateboard. But imagine if it was bigger.
Yeah. I mean, you could go skating across the red water, the red ink.
Yeah. Okay, that's an idea. We need some more.
Except what we learned from Back to the Future, that you need propulsion, otherwise you're not going to go anywhere as soon as you run out of steam.
I've got my gondola punting stick.
Oh, yes. Or you could maybe combine it with the eraser propulsion technology.
Whoa. Oh, can you imagine? With a reduced friction? All right. Okay, so next time, I think we will be racing down the river Styx or Libros or whatever. Do you want to name this?
The river... Oh.
Yeah, the Red River of the library. I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Yes, I mean...
I know that this is a horrifying circumstance for your library to find itself in, but I'm just astonished at the creative opportunities that we face because of it.
I'm hoping that the ink repulsion technology will be easily deployed, and we can maybe get it out around the bases of the bookcases. That would like keep them away, and like... I mean, it seems like most of them would be like, anything on the lower two shelves seems to be ruined already, so...
Well, fingers crossed. Okay, I'll get on that.
All
for
the
next
books
time.
have probably already forgotten about it, which is a good thing.
That is a function of the red ink. We'll just find a bunch of blank books that don't know what they're about.
Ah, yes.
Sort of like me most of the time.
Yes. I think you're more like a notebook that keeps getting pages torn out of it.
Whoa. Okay, that's That's kind of horrifying mental imagery. Let's sort of bleach our minds and go to this week's book, because while there are still books that haven't been subsumed under the ink tide, we should probably get to reviewing some of them. So what do we have in store for our readers this week?
Yes, this week's book is by Elrod, or... Sorry, P and Elrod. Sorry,
no, the P is silent. Silent. It's Nelrod.
Nelrod. All right.
P and Elrod. Yes, that's right. The book is called
The Adventures of Murr.
Mhyr.
I think it's Murr.
Myhr. Also notice it's a lowercase m.
Oh, yes, I suppose.
Yeah, capital Y, capital H, capital R. And he's half man, half cat.
And all hero.
And on the front cover, we have a gorgeous cat man with fantastic, like, David Bowie in Labyrinth hair.
Right. And whiskers, which are more like, who has fantastic whiskers?
I'm thinking of God from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. He had the sort of braided moustache whiskers.
I was thinking of Rigel from Farscape.
from Farscape, yeah, it's interesting.
Before the frozen whisker incident, but
yes, that one off. He looks a little bit Kilrathi from the Wing Commander video games before the terrible film,
or just anything where they involving the Xin. So that could be entirely true.
Oh yes, he looks like a Xintosh.
Yes. And there is a lady, I think it's a lady, might be a guy standing behind him. It is. Wearing a black robe with a red liner.
Red lining, yeah, that's really cool look.
Some little horns on the head. And little black sunglasses, I suppose.
I thought it was hard to tell from the book. Like, it could also be some kind of makeup, I guess. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was actually drawn on. War paint. Or maybe like someone...
Slip with a coal.
Or maybe someone put grease on the inside of some binoculars that they used and gave them fake glasses. Yeah, that's a funny joke.
That would be weird. Mhyr is holding a ball of lightning, and it's some sort of rippling space effect. In the background, we can see the large windows overview.
Yeah, so it's clearly like wielding magic, because he's got a lovely white blouse and a fantastic waistcoat and sort of crushed velvet black pants. It's a gorgeous.
I hadn't even noticed the waistcoat. I thought there was just shadow on his white blouse. But no, you're right. He is wearing a waistcoat.
Oh yeah, it's properly buttoned. He's
all groomed up. He's got a massive mane, I suppose, and cute little ears sticking out.
You know what
they
say about cats with big manes?
Big hairdresser bills.
Yeah, it's not a very good joke that they say about those cats.
Well, so that's like it's an exciting. Well, it's not that exciting. It's just a fairly typical science fiction front cover.
No, I'm with you there, because I always want to be excited about these covers. But like, aside from the concepts that are being displayed artistically, it's not like a slam dunk.
It's one of those covers which are just purely designed to get you to pick up the book and look at it and take a better look at it. I mean, that's pretty much what all science fiction fantasy book covers are. Since the 80s.
It's our bread and butter. That is kind of the style of the hero of this book, Murr. I think we've decided to call him.
Yes.
I struggled to figure out whether it's Mhyr. I mean, it kind of reminded me of my friend, an artist in Germany, Claudia Schmidt, is working on the second volume of her graphic novel series, Mhyr, Myre, which is also quite difficult for English speakers. Like, they assume that it's like Mhyr or something similar. Mhyr. Okay, we're introduced to this world, which is basically Earth. I would say like pre-turn of the century, like late 20th, right? When stage magicians were still an incredibly popular form of entertainment.
Right.
Which is how he's made his fame. This half cat, half man. Somehow the fact that he is half feline is completely glossed over by the public, because they're just astonished by his magic.
I guess they assume that it's part of his act. Yeah, that's how he always presents himself, and like whenever he's asked about it, in interviews he ignores it.
He just sort of starts preening and purring. Yes, he gets away with a lot because he's so gorgeous.
I mean, that's the thing. When you have your artist and you're doing your shtick as your stage performance, then like you stick with it. As I say, the performance is not on the stage. The performance is outside the stage as well. That's where the real effort goes into the keeping up the effort. I mean, anybody can like dress up for the stage performance, but like making it a way of life is considered like, that's like taking an extra step. Of course, he doesn't have to do anything special for that. He can just be himself, but they don't know that. So to them, it seems like he's always going through the extraordinary effort of always presenting himself as a stage persona wherever he is and goes.
Because that is like the hallmark of some historically very, very famous stage magicians who pretended to be something other than they were in order to like misdirect people's attention. There was a famous gentleman whose name I've forgotten, but he was a British gentleman who pretended to be an Oriental, a Chinese man,
right.
An old Chinese man, and he would like walk with a stoop, and he would wear the long robes. But all of this was to hide that he was an incredibly fit, athletic, tall man who could perform feats of strength that no one would assume a frail old man could do, like carrying a gigantic like container of water between his knees for 45 minutes so that he could make it appear somewhere. Because that's the thing with stage magic. The trick is never done when you see it. The trick is all the preparation that had to be done the whole time when you weren't seeing it.
Yes, and making the audience believe that nobody would go through the effort of doing something like that to produce a certain effect. It's like, it's impossible. They couldn't have done that.
Yeah, exactly that. Because it would be so much easier to just use magic instead of going through all that effort. But that's what Murr kind of gets away with. For him, it is no effort. He doesn't do anything remarkable to look the way he does. That's just how he was born.
Yeah, and he's like using that unique ability. Well, it's not really an ability if you're born. Well, is an appearance an ability? I wouldn't say so.
Well, in this case, it does have certain effects. Like people are so entranced by him and his appearance and his aloofness is so sexy that nobody notices he's kind of a shit magician. You know,
yes.
Most of his tricks come from the Criss Angel Mind Freak Ultimate Magic Kit for $129.
Okay, I never heard of that before.
Well,
This is like a magic kit that was sold in the United States or something?
Yes, it is. I'm starting to realize, maybe anachronistically, I think Criss Angel is post-turn of the century, but whatever. Elrod clearly got some wrong. But yeah, like it's mostly like cup and balls tricks.
Yes.
So he stands on stage for like an hour and 45 minutes, mostly like just cupping his balls.
I was going to say knocking cups and balls off the table.
A little bit, yes. And the reviews are raving because people are just, they lap it up.
Yes, and like the trick he does with a spoon and a bit of fish paste.
I must have glossed over that in my reading. What was the trick that he does with the spoon and a bit of fish paste?
He makes the fish paste disappear.
with a spoon, yes. Yeah, that was wow! What an astonishing trick that was. It made headlines for months, as did his famous David Copperfield routine.
Yeah,
much to the chagrin of the stage magician who named himself David Copperfield, where he achieved like worldwide fame by essentially doing a 45-minute reading of Charles Dickens's novel David Copperfield, and then pulling some flowers from his sleeve. And
right.
That's it. And like the rest of the magician community,
I was pretty impressed that he managed to read all of David Copperfield in 45 minutes.
See, exactly what we know about him. That is the impressive part. But the rest of the magician community is looking at this like he is rubbish. And how is he getting away with this? How are people so astonished at the simple shit that he's doing? But of course, the magicians aren't the only ones who are watching his rise to stardom with jaundiced eyes.
Well, what he doesn't know, and what most of Earth doesn't know, is that Earth plays a very interesting part in the galactic community.
Yes.
It is the only planet in the known universe on which an entertainment industry has developed.
What a world this is.
Yes.
Like, just imagine that. Imagine entertainment. The idea of being amused or being amusing as a profession and transporting people.
No, this had not ever occurred to any other species, which has caused Earth to become more or less the daytime TV of the universe.
Yes, I'm reminded now of Romula the Deredex and the influence that she might have had. Wow, we should play all the hits one of these days. Yeah, and at first it's slightly confusing why we're learning this about Earth, but of course we should realize Mhyr is not like straight up human.
No,
like he is a cat man. I think there are connections to a book that we did previously with the human who landed on the planet full of full of cat people. Like maybe there was some cross pollination of the species.
I think there might have been. It might have occurred, and clearly, as a human, they're not welcome on alien planets because like the myth has to be maintained. Yes, therefore, he was probably sent to Earth by his parents and raised there.
It's the only place that he could be safe because it's a pre-contact civilization. They're not supposed to be touched. They've got like the galactic community has sort of a prime directive about that. But he is not the first such a child to be born of a union of crossed stars.
No, basically his blatant flaunting of the rules regarding making themselves known and his appearance is like starting to turn some eyes.
Flaunting or flouting? Which one means like?
Well, he's flaunting his appearance and he's flouting the rules, I suppose.
Yes, that's exactly right. Thank you. Incurring the ire of other star-crossed children who have grown up on Earth and who have, for their own survival, kept their heads down and tried to live in human society as much as they're able to, given the fact that they're half aliens. And one of them takes it upon himself to protect this informal, loose community of survivors on Earth.
Protect the veil.
Protect the veil. Yeah, very good. It's sort of like where's the veil from again?
That's from White Wolf.
Yes, the White Wolf role-playing system, but it's not a werewolf that comes after Mhyr. No. It's a very similar creature.
He's known as a.
No, this is not one of those time travel episodes. He's not going to ride around on a chronoped like last week. It's a be-werewolf.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like works as a crossing guard.
A little bit, yes. Yes, he does. That's right. To hide his power of augury, of being able to interpret the future, and in turn have his own future revealed to him. Like that's the thing that sort of limits him from using his power to tell people's future. She cannot learn about someone else's future without also revealing her own, which is a terrible thing to know about.
So it's kind of like she's got five-sight.
Five-sight. How does...
Well, you've got foresight, and then you've got...
Yes. Yes, that's right. No, I forgot about that. Yeah, she has an extra eye in the middle of her five head that just opens when she uses her power of reciprocity.
Okay, so...
Yeah, so when she uses her power to learn about someone's future, she also learns about her own. That's the reciprocity.
Oh, it's not that they learn about her future. That's what I kind of imagined.
Oh shit! No, that's better. Yes. That's probably how it went. I must have. Good job,
reciprocity. Yes, it's like you can divine someone's future, but in a turn of galactic balance, they also learn about yours.
That's better. that's definitely how it went in the book. Very good. A power that they have on Canis Major, where her mother came from, whereas before her mother was captured by the U.S. government and escaped from Area 69. Ding
ding ding ding ding ding ding ding ding ding.
High five. We've had like two of those in this show.
Yes.
Yes, Area 69. Wow. Where she escaped from their psychic pre-jurisdiction. Did you get it? Like prediction, pre-jurisdiction.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that matters. She makes her living as a crossing guard, occasionally indulging in her power, like made into sort of a little country game where sort of like Cassandra syndrome.
Well, it really works. Like because she expects this and she knows about it, and like anybody who she uses her power on also gets that insight, but they're not used to this. They're just thinking like, I just had like a weird thought about this crossing guard that I saw earlier.
Yeah.
And like, I hope she's all right because I saw this big truck hurtling in her direction. And it's, and they just, most people just brush it off as being like, oh, okay, one of those little weird jamais vu things.
Jamais, like the opposite of déjà vu,
yes.
Like never seen. Yeah. As is the case when she tries to use her power to figure out where Mhyr is going to be at the most risk that she could influence, and maybe help him to have a little accident or just vanish from sight so that he doesn't call too much attention on the rest of the star-crossed children. But unfortunately, like he just has a terrible dream about how she's going to have a terrible accident while she's playing one of her psychic games, like a country game called Warnholing.
Okay.
Yeah, do you know how you can just go like cornholing is a popular game?
Mind that one.
Mind that one. Mind mind that hole.
She has a terrible misstep, I suppose.
Yeah. It does not go well for her. She's in traction in hospital for a while, and Mhyr is none the wiser, which seems to be the pattern for his encounters with others of his kind.
I really liked how Elrod managed to like use that almost like a cutscene effect into the next scene.
Right.
Because what we're seeing is our good friend Murr undergoing the Chinese porter torture.
Chinese. Yeah, no, I'll get there. Chinese Chinese shouldn't be the hard word in this one.
Chinese porter
torture.
Yes.
Sorry, in a porter torture booth.
Because another one of the star-crossed is also trying to get Murr out of the picture.
Yes.
This is the famous Harry Houdini.
Yes.
Who
also a stage magician.
He's also a stage magician. Yes, he's a well-known escape artist.
Yes, that's right.
Who is either from the Crab Nebula or responsible for it.
The Crab Nebula. That's right. He's an escape artist from the Crab Nebula. Yes. What a great book. Yeah. Hey, PN Elrod, you should be proud of yourself.
And he's subjecting Mhyr to the Chinese porter torture.
Yeah.
Which is like taking him to a cheap Chinese restaurant and ordering the Guinness there.
Wait, Guinness is stout.
It's also, well, okay, you're right. So, shit. Is there
no, it's not against you. It's against what is a porter? I don't know.
Porter is also, it's also, porter and stouts are two very similar drinks. They're both very dark beers. I thought
it was a person who carries luggage.
I think a porter is, yes, but it was called a porter because those luggage-bearing types tended to favor that kind of beer during the time when it became popularized.
Yeah,
so I think
it's very nourishing.
I think it's one of those things. I think a porter is a stout, but a stout is not necessarily a porter or the other way around. I can't. Yes. I think a porter is a stout, but a stout is not necessarily a porter.
A Guinness is a stout, but a stout is not a Guinness.
Exactly. Yeah.
On television programs, you see people ordering a stout because Guinness is a trademarked brand name. But in any pub, people just ask for Guinness. It is very rare for someone to ask for a stout that is not a Guinness.
Well, these days it's probably more common than it was in the last 40 years. And
actually, that's a very good point. Yeah,
I mean, for the longest
sort
time,
of microbrewery,
right? Yeah,
ascension.
I mean, you see much more. You see much more of those beers these days. Yeah.
So our hero doesn't suffer a lot from the Chinese porter torture. That I don't quite understand why Harry Houdini thought that would be such a punishment. I mean, they have perfectly fine microbreweries in the Southeast Asian part of the world.
But think of having to sit in a cheap Chinese restaurant and having to drink whatever passes for a porter in there.
Well, considering that I've been living in this library for 98 weeks, that actually sounds fucking lovely, I've got to say.
You just want the cheap Chinese food.
That is that, yeah.
I mean, I can't really see you choking down a porter. I mean, I can see you choking it down, but not very.
Hey, wow. This is unfair persecution, which is what our hero decides this is. In fact, it is unfair mersecution.
Well, it's all about him, isn't it?
It is. And his, he only has to tweet about this, how he had Twitter before the turn of the century. I don't quite know. I think Elrod sort of lost track of exactly which era they were writing in. I don't think we know whether it's a gentleman or a lady or a non-binary person.
Elrod, yeah, no, it doesn't, there's no initials, so it could be anything. I mean, even with just the initials, you couldn't make any guesses at the gender of the person, let alone the preferred pronouns,
which is something that female writers have used by necessity to succeed in science fiction. Like you see a lot of female science fiction writers use their initials,
right? Just to make
DC Fontana,
just to not make it obvious that they're female,
exactly, and make themselves more hireable based on their.
That's interesting because I mean, a lot of science fiction and fantasy that I've been reading over the past decades has been by female writers, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, the historical precedents, like DC Fontana, a writer for Star Trek, CJ Cherry, who even added an H to her surname to make it seem more masculine.
Oh, wait. Cherry is more than masculine than Cherry?
Cherry with an H.
Yes.
Cherry sort of...
Isn't Cherry... Oh, at the end.
Yes, sorry. No, you're right. You're right. It already has an H. Yeah. It's not Harry.
No, that's like you had me confused.
Harry Houdini. Yeah, who falls victim to Myr's fan club.
Yeah,
the fans militant who follow his every word. So when he says that he's being unfairly persecuted, they race to his rescue. Yes. To the detriment of Harry Houdini, rescue him from the Chinese porter torture in the porter party where he was.
Well, the porter torture is kind of backfired on him, and
yes,
he says he's now suffering from the Nachtcramps, which is like
what? Is that related to Krampus? Is that another one of the star-crossed?
It is technically. It's a creature. The Nachtkramp is actually a mythological creature, which is actually what Mr. Harry Houdini resembles. It's a bit like a raven-like man creature. It harks from Hungarian folklore.
But it has a German name.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I can tell that by the fact that if it was a Hungarian name, I wouldn't recognize anything.
I mean, it used to be the Austro-Hungarian Empire, so there's probably quite a lot of...
that is true. Like a bit of sort of cultural bleed.
Right.
Yeah, so another mystery for us to chew on. In the meantime, like, Mhyr is going back to his life, and he's performing more of his terrible, terrible close-up magic to rave reviews and sold-out stadiums. And now that he's approaching certain cities that are of interest to the Star Crossed, in particular Seattle, their efforts to thwart him intensify, and he falls under the crosshairs of the Jackson Hive fall upon him. Now,
I thought that was really scary.
Yeah,
the Jackson
right?
Hive. That I assume they're not called that because of their beehive dues. But
they're not called that because of their beehive hairdos. I'll say, because they are from the sort of Motown era. They did in their youths make a splash on the international scene and become very famous as some young fraternally familiar musicians of incredible popularity. But yes, they were themselves like quickly persecuted by the other star-crossed into fading into obscurity where they belong. And so now, when they see that one of their own is making the same mistake that they did in their youth, they have to
jump in and go back there. Yes,
because they are like a collective species, like a hive-minded species.
I mean, the name kind of gives that away.
Kind of, yeah. They're like a bunch of bugs in various skin
suits.
Although
occasionally one of them has aspirations to start a solo career, but they're generally sucked back into the hive pretty quickly.
Suffering some health complications and some bizarre behavior as they're separated from their hive. They recruit their familiar, a machine intelligence also on Earth, and one that we've met before, Bjorn Cyborg. Always a hit. They realize that Myr's major advantage is his fans militant. Like, that's why that's why the other star-crossed are failing to take him down. So they practice something that they call brain spotting, trying to like mass hypnotize or deprogram, I should say, these fans from their fascinations with Mhyr.
Oh, okay. I thought they were going to use that on Mhyr himself, which would have ultimately failed because,
he is too dim.
Well, he was suffering from a bit of a hangover from the Chinese porter torture. So
yes,
it's like
that's true. That's true.
Any brain spotting would completely fail on him because there's not enough there functional to spot right now. So
the fans militant are not a particularly brainy bunch to begin with.
No. So there's very little to spot.
Yes, they're walking amid these multitudes, looking for a mind to infect. But no, it's all this slavish devotion.
It's just mindless repetition of he is the greatest and he is the prettiest, and look at him preen, and he is absolutely.
And he's so aloof, which is often mistaken for sexiness and being interesting. So they even try to play his own game and do their own close-up magic to try and acquire the interest of his fans militant, and at least they're practicing trick bait.
Yes, although they're a little bit out of their depth in this one.
And as hard as they try, they don't quite succeed because Mhyr is at least his agent, which I think is the one with the horns on the cover.
Probably.
Yeah, with the hooded
right.
figure with the horns. His agent has chosen this particularly inopportune moment to release a new line of merchandise, I guess kind of inspired by the Chris Angel Mind Freak Ultimate Magic Kit, a new form of entertainment branded with Myr's likeness, Trivial Mhyr Suit.
Yes, I love that one. That was fantastic.
Yes. Because they had so many versions of Trivial Pursuit at the board game at the end of the 90s.
And there's a lot of Mhyr, there is a lot of Trivial Mhyr suiting going on, when
oh God, I haven't even thought of that.
Especially from the fanboys.
They're all cosplaying their own Mhyr suits.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And so there's a little cutscene here back to Area 69 where a
yes,
where a mysterious person known only as the producer, who seems to be a bit of a Weasley sort of fellow, who is sitting in his office and realizing that things are not going right.
Yes. This is spiraling out of control quite rapidly.
Things must be taken in control before Earth starts to realize that they are the center of the entertainment industry of the universe, and Mhyr needs to be stopped. And he's sitting there having a little think, and it's almost like he's daydreaming.
Yeah, sort of mind wandering away, trying to come up with maybe something that's as effective as like Men in Black as a false flag operation. But
basically he sees himself like playing a vital part in the way that Mhyr is being countered and ignorance is restored to the planet Earth, and the producer can keep his job and entertainment running, so to speak. The show must go on.
Maintain the status quo, ensure that the rest of the galaxy is entertained, so they don't think about like obliterating Earth for being a troublesome little
we can't have
planet.
that. No. And there's a little cut scene back to a character we saw previously in the book.
Yes.
Our lovely Bewerewolf, who was in fact using her powers of reciprocity.
Very good. Got a new one.
Yeah, and figuring out how she can make things go right.
Yes, because she's tried taking out Mhyr, and that didn't work out very well for her. But like the real important thing is not so much stopping Mhyr, but to maintain like the status quo that is working so well for the star-crossed children on this planet, because that's what she cares about. She cares about like her fellow hybrids surviving, and apparently that requires the rest of the universe to look favorably on Earth as a producer of entertainment.
Yes, and after doing a little bit of brain spotting of her own, she decides to make use of the producer's reciprovision that he's had. I mean, she's aware of what happened in the producer's brain. Yeah, she's very beware. And when she sees the producer starting to book Mhyr in a big showdown act, she realizes that this is the time to step in and start using her reciprocity. Yes, I suppose. Whatever.
A recipe for prophecy.
Oh, it's very much so. So Mhyr is booked for a huge live televised stage event in which he is going to perform his most famous tricks and a brilliant new trick, which is like hinted at.
He's going to make the Space Needle disappear.
He is, like much to the chagrin of the
Jackson Hive.
The Jackson Hive, yes.
Who have to evacuate it very quickly. And
although, it's a trick anyway. Everybody knows he's not really going to make it disappear, but he's just going to make it look like it disappeared.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to make it look like it, but the Bewerewolf is actually she has a plan of her own. The action kind of accelerates here. There's some chloroform involved. There is like the emergency fuel of the hyperdrive of the spacecraft. That is actually the Space Needle is activated. She stuffs the producer onto the UFO, and at the moment that the Great Disappearing Act is supposed to take place, activates the hyperdrive, sending the producer off into the depths of space, fulfilling the trick that Mhyr was to perform. And now there is a gap in Earth's entertainment history. It needs a new producer, and who better
than the Bewerewolf herself. She nicely steps into the now vacant position, presents herself as the be-all and end-all, I suppose, of the thing. She knows what the producer's been doing. She has her powers of reciprocity to be able to like beware of any pitfalls and dangers that might lie in the act of doing this.
Anyone who stands in her way, she can foresee their plans, and they can foresee her success. So,
and basically Mhyr remains blissfully ignorant of the role that he's been playing.
It's a cat thing anyway.
He is. I mean,
right?
like, does he know or does he just not care? I mean, it's like one or the other.
It's literally the same thing where cats are concerned.
True.
There is zero difference.
Yeah, basically things get wrapped up, so she becomes the new producer.
Yep.
And
Earth continues to produce the galaxy's entertainment. The star-crossed children are safe among Earth's.
Yes, and they actually realize that the thing that Mhyr had was not just like relevant to him. It's not him just being ignorant. It's all of humanity being so.
Yeah.
And they can just kind of like move about, and as long as you just like stay in character.
Yes, that's the thing. You've got to stay in character, and and the Jackson Hive learned this about themselves, and even the werewolf. Like, as long as you're consistent, as long as you believe in yourself, everybody else can believe in you too.
Exactly, and Harry Houdini becomes a part of the situation as well. She's
What's Harry Houdini's role?
Well,
in all
I mean,
this?
his escape
Because
farticism.
he wrapped all together well.
His escape farticism is become a really. It clears the house. Let me call it.
I thought it was a brilliant book.
It was a very fantastic book. I really enjoyed it. It's I've got a soft spot for cat folk, so Murr was just
that's never come up in this show before.
No.
It's not like we're completely upset with sexy cat men from space.
No, it's not like we have a category of like sexy cat people in our
exactly
upcoming books or anything like that.
In the future wiki that will spring up about this series, there won't be like a special section for sexy cat men such as Ruraf and Robert Cat, and now also Murr.
Yep.
So how are we going to rate this book?
Oh, what's a good magic number?
Ooh, I know the magic number.
What is it?
1729. So 1729.
Is that one of Ramanujan's numbers?
Ramanujan, yes, very good. Yeah, man who knew infinity. And so he described that as the smallest number that can be described as the sum of two cubes in two ways.
Ah. Yeah.
So it's 10 cubed plus 9 cubed, or it's 12 cubed plus 1 cubed.
Ah, and
that gets you 7.
Do you know how that occurred? It was, I believe, he was either on his deathbed or just generally ill, and someone who was visiting mentioned that was the number of the cab that he took. And, and he was like, "That's the."
Wow! Oh, your knowledge of mathematical obscura continues to astonish and delight.
So, out of 1792, 1729. Yes, let's see what we can do. Out of 1729, I will give it 1462.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can sort of negotiate our way up from that, because I thought that the book maybe deserved a little bit more. I know it's unusual for me to question your ratings, but like I particularly enjoyed the Chinese porter torture.
It seems like a really weird way of torturing people.
I know,
with
like trying to stuff somebody into
porter in Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, chugging down from a porter potty.
I
said it out loud. No, okay, no, I take it back. Maybe it deserves the 1429.
Like, where's the red ink? Let me at it. I think my favorite character was definitely the werewolf.
She had a lot, like, that was fun.
I liked how she went about her thing.
And learned about her power and learned about how to use it for good.
Well, mainly the fact that like everybody else learns it as well, but she's skilled at it. Like everybody else just get this insight or this vision, which they kind of either they reject it or they just ignore it or they don't know what to do with it. And like she has more or less the same information, or at least equivocal information, but she knows how to use that and play it. So I thought that was a very strong character, which I really enjoyed.
So what do we have in store for our readers next week?
Next week's book is by Gary Leon Hill.
Yes.
People Who Don't Know That They Are Dead.
That about covers it. Thank you for joining us at Cover My Ass, where baffling books are reviewed but not read by yours truly. My name is Kaki.
And I'm Kay, and remember,
we only judge a book by its cover. Beware the werewolf.
Beware the wolf.
Beware the wolf.
There was another one, like a duplicate note one, like the Area 69.
Yes,
Those are rare, but they're
like twice it's happened.
Something like that. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, I also have that one. It's like
high five.
High five.